Hi, this is Tom. Welcome to my channel. I've been doing a series of videos on using ChatGPT to do Midjourney prompts. And in this video, I'd like to pay more attention to the actual use of ChatGPT uh, as opposed to looking more at images that I've been doing more in the previous videos to this one. And I'd like to highlight three techniques that can be used with ChatGPT. So the first one involves using instructions. And the instructions are instructions that ChatGPT writes out for itself. And here ChatGPT is describing the technique. This is technique number one, creating reusable ChatGPT instructions for Midjourney prompts. So the process is you give it an example prompt to start with, and such as a serene lakeside scene at sunset with reflections in the water. ChatGPT dissects this prompt to understand its fundamental elements. Following this, it creates additional similar prompts, like a tranquil forest clearing at dawn with soft sunlight filtering through trees. Then ChatGPT will propose a name for the prompt, and then I can show the results here. So this is this is it'll create instructions in this format. ChatGPT instructions for artistic scene prompts, and this is what it created for this image that I gave to it. I gave it this prompt. So for this prompt, this is the instruction set that it came up for itself. So it named it Artistic Scene Prompts, ASP, and it gave an overview. It gave step-by-step instructions for itself on how to build it, and then gave 3 example prompts. And you can just copy and paste this into a future session of ChatGPT. And it's very handy because you can do things like you can ask for asps. So I could say, like, for example, I'd like a dozen asps featuring Paris, for example. And it's very good at that sort of thing. It'll come up with a dozen different prompts that are following the style of instruction that it set out. So that's technique number one. And I'll try to include a a script in my blog for that you can copy and paste. You can copy and paste it. It'll ask you for a prompt, and then it'll write out instructions similar to what I showed you. That'll be the idea. This is the address for my blog right here. Okay, so that's technique number one. Technique number two is it's using a template, and it called it crafting Midjourney prompts with descriptors, but I would have called it crafting Midjourney prompts with templates. And an example of the template is here. It's art style, a practitioner style, medium. I can write, let me just write it out. You can just do this. You do art style, and then artist would work. Medium, so like oil painting or pastel or whatever, subject. And then it's got 3 descriptors. So I'll talk about the descriptors. Descriptor 1, descriptor 2, descriptor 3. Actually, I asked it to talk about it. So I'll just read what it said. So I said, can you discuss descriptors in more detail? And it said, certainly. Descriptors are an essential elements in crafting Midjourney prompts, adding, well, that's blah, blah, blah. Anyway, understanding descriptors. Function. Descriptors provide specific details about the scene, subject, or style of the image. They can refer to anything from environmental conditions to emotional tones. Okay, and then here's some examples of descriptors. Time of day, viewpoint, color palette, weather condition, mood or atmosphere, specific features, lighting conditions, season, environment, and so on. So if you just give it something like this, you can use this as a template. Just as simple as what I have here. I'll include this in the description of the video. And the art style, artist, medium, and subject, that's all self-explanatory. The descriptors, you have to describe to it what those are, but that's easy to do. It's just these are additional elements, such as what are given here, that add interest to the image. And the idea is that Midjourney bot is limited into the amount of complexity that it can render. So you want to give it enough to make it interesting, but not so much as to overwhelm it. I say that's a mistake that one sees in a lot of Midjourney prompts, is that it's just got way too much information and it'll miss stuff that you give it. Now that they just released a new version, it'll be really interesting to see if it can handle greater complexity than previous versions. But I found that this level of complexity, which it has about 7 different elements here, the art style, artist, mediums, and subject are 4, and then 3 additional things that are along the lines of what's shown here, that it seems to handle that pretty well. But again, it'll be interesting to see if it can handle more than that with the new version. So that's technique number 2. And then technique number 3 is to use a catalog. The catalog, the way I'm using the term, it's a collection of prompts basically, and it'll have typically 10 sections. And then each section I'll either have 3 or 10 prompts typically, depending on how I'm going about it. And I won't go into detail about that here because I have a number of videos, the ones previous to this one, where I've talked about using the catalog approach and gone through a number of examples using that. So to summarize for this video, I've talked about 3 techniques that can be used with ChatGPT to create Midjourney prompts. So one technique is to have it write out instructions for itself, such as what I showed here, that you can copy and paste into future sessions. And I'll include a script that you can use to have it do this, where the script will ask you for a prompt, you give it an example prompt, and it will write out something similar to what you're seeing here. So that's technique number 1. Technique number 2 is to use a template, and that's what I showed here. And I did want to mention, I'll show a variation of this. Let me try putting this on a blog post here and see if yes, I've already got it open here. All right, this is perfect. So this was the first one here. The second one that you can use is I'll put photographer here, is similar to the artist one, and this is it here. And really the only difference is that instead of art style, I have type of photo. Instead of medium, I have photo. And I've got the 3 descriptors, which would be things that would be appropriate for photography. And you can have ChatGPT help you flesh that out. Things like lighting, camera angle, and so on. And then this last part, I think, is really cool to use, the camera info. And that can be things like the camera used, the film used, lens, and f-stops, exposure techniques, things like that. And the thing that's really cool about using ChatGPT is that it knows what these things are. So I think that is really, really cool. So if you can choose a photographer like Annie Leibovitz, or you can, another thing I'll do is instead of a photographer is I'll use a magazine like National Geographic or Vogue or different magazines instead of the photographer, and then it can pick out the appropriate camera information for the given photographer or um, or magazine. And that's an interesting thing to fool around with to see what impact that it makes. But definitely in certain circumstances, at least changing the lens, changing the film, things like that can make a difference in the image that you get. So those are the three techniques: uh, building an instruction set, using a template, and the third is using a catalog. And again, I'll put on my blog. I wanted to mention, I already have a script for catalogs because I've been talking about that um, in recent videos. So this is for the December blog. So I have a number of catalogs that you can use. And also this script, you can just copy and paste to ChatGPT session, and you can give it the catalogs to use, or you can build your own. And I'll add this script for the instruction where it'll ask you for an example prompt. You just give it the example prompt and it'll write out an instruction set similar to what I showed. And I'll include the templates that I just showed in the description of the video. And I hope you find these techniques useful in your Midjourney prompts with ChatGPT.